I did my undergrad at a state school, so for me coming into my nursing field, I knew that school was expensive. Ultimately, I had to take out more money. I just didn't know how much money I would have to take out.
I decided I want to go back and get my MBA. When I went and looked at some of the federal loans, I was kind of blown away with how high some of those interest rates were, and that's when I realized that I needed to start looking for some other options to finance my MBA.
I grew up in a household where debt has always been seen as such a burden. Both of my parents are immigrants, and when they came to the United States, they both wanted to go to school to create a better life for themselves, and each of them took out tens of thousands of dollars in student debt in order to try and get great careers. Tuition has doubled over the last decade, and that is unbelievable to think that students are now having the tough decision on, is it worth it for me to go back to school? Instead of having to think through that decision, they should say, it is worth it, but there's a much more affordable and flexible way of paying for that education.
For years, taking out a student loan has been the status quo for those acquiring a college education without the means to fully pay. In fact, over 70% of collegiate students will absorb some type of debt throughout their tenure. However, as national student loan debt climbs above $1.5 trillion, and the traditional model of the loan process has become increasingly prohibitive to students, it's become clear that we need new answers to address this national crisis.
So I've been an investor and entrepreneur in student lending for many decades. Now in my role as a professor at Harvard Business School, I see the structures that many of my students embark on when they are burdened by these loans and this debt. And I know that this is a very archaic space, one that's seen very little innovation and one that is ripe for innovation today.
All of the folks that support students through our platform are impact-driven. And so they're really focused on ensuring that it's affordable for the student, that it's flexible for the student, and that everyone wants to make sure that if there's any excess returns, it goes back to funding more students. And that's a really beautiful cycle and a really beautiful ecosystem where everyone is A, student-centric, and B, impact-focused.
So the thing that I'm super excited about right now in the student loan industry is that we're finally seeing some innovation. Income share agreements being one of the most promising of those innovations. What's terrific about this product is that it's not a loan, it's not debt for the student. Instead, they're sharing in their future income.
The student loan crisis is no longer just a crisis, it's become a catastrophe. There's $1.5 trillion in outstanding student loan debt, which is unbelievable to think that this problem has not been addressed earlier and better. And a lot of times, we're grateful for the federal government for giving subsidized student loans, but that only allows universities to continue to increase the tuition, which becomes a vicious cycle around cost and value.
I can speak from personal experience as a longtime investor and entrepreneur in the student loan space. I see a lot of my students make career choices that are not optimal based on the burden of their loans.
A traditional loan has a very rigid, inflexible structure. The way it works is, let's just say you have a $20,000 loan. That's your principal amount. And then while you're in school and you're not paying back that loan, you'll be accruing interest, so the overall expense starts increasing year after year. And these loans are usually 10 to 20 years long, so when you have a family or you're trying to start a life, you really are stuck with these large payments. When you're in school and you're not earning, you're accruing interest, and so the expense is way more than you initially baked in. And on top of that, once you graduate, if you ever are unemployed or you go through a health issue or you just need to take time off for any reason, you end up paying the same amount and you're still obligated to owe the same, which makes it very expensive when life is tough on you.
Income share agreements, or ISAs, will be a critical tool to allow future professionals to achieve the education they need without absorbing the debt that they don't. As a leader in the space, Stride Funding seeks to empower students, investing in their potential and possibility.
In income share agreements, it is almost like a form of equity in the sense that the payments fluctuate with your ability to pay them. And I think that's much more student-centric. And so really what we're focused on is ensuring that as your earning curve changes, your payment curve changes.
The thing I like about the income share agreement is that the structure is customized for the needs of the individual and for their potential. Take, for example, a nursing student. there's a very clear path to income after they graduate from those nursing programs. That income is well known and well understood and can be modeled very easily. Therefore, the Stride product fit very nicely for that student with a very clear line of sight into what that commitment looks like over those 5 years of payments.
I can email them and they know who exactly I am. They know where I go to school. They know what semester I am in. So I think that's important because they actually know me as me. With other companies, this is just this girl that's asking for some money. With Stride, I feel like it's more personal.
Our advice to students is if you can get scholarships, take them. That's great. If you can get a federally subsidized loan, perfect, take that. But when it comes to taking something like a Grad Plus loan or a private loan or a Stride income share agreement, we really believe that this is a better option because it's much more affordable, it's much more flexible, it's shorter duration, and it offers career support in a way that we believe in you as a student, such that traditional loan providers are just not incentivized to.
I was looking at a lot of different options, and the ISA came up through a lot of research into other options or alternative options to the federal loans. What really stuck out about it to me was the fact that it's a partnership, so that you're working with the team and they're helping you find a job. And I feel like I could pick up the phone and text or call or email anybody on the Stride team and get a response back and some sort of guidance. That was not something that I think I would have gotten if I funded my education a different way. I think there's definitely a culture around supporting a lot of their students, and I think that that's really what makes me feel comfortable.
Education is the key to economic mobility. I think we all can agree with that. But the price tags around school have just become so expensive, and there needs to be a more flexible and affordable way. And so Stride's income share agreements are really focused on hitting the pain point head on and making sure that we give students a better option for them so that they can pursue the paths they want to, go to the universities that fit them best, and ensure that they get the best outcomes once they graduate.
Stride funding. For students, by students. Fund your future. For more information and to learn more about what Stride can do for you, visit stridefunding.com.